The Monday, November 4th, 2013 meeting of the City of Issaquah, Washington City Council meeting is called to order, and the council and I invite those who are present to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, if you wish.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the council's agenda this evening is an opportunity for commenting to the city council on topics that are not the subject of a public hearing this evening. So that may be any item that is on the agenda this evening, or it may be things that are of interest or concern to people who are here in the audience. And no limit on the topic. There are guidelines for public participation. When you are recognized, we ask that you come over, use the lectern and the microphone so that you may be seen and heard here in council chambers. And also for the viewing public, those people who are watching this council meeting on Channel 21, the Government Access Channel. We ask that you state your name, your address, and if you want to emphasize a relationship to the city, that you are a resident, a property owner, a business owner, whatever it is that you think would be important for the council to know, it would be appropriate to do that at that time. We further ask that you limit your comments to 5 minutes or fewer. And we also ask that if you have written comments, please feel free to submit them for the city clerk so that we may reply to them within a certain period of time. So, with that, I will ask if anyone has signed up for audience comments.
John Weissman.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm John Wiseman. I live at 7329 410th Avenue Southeast. That's in Snoqualmie. And I'm the president of the East Side Firefighters. I'm here on behalf of your local firefighters to urge you to accept our proposal for mediation between Issaquah and the City of Sammamish, or to support a funding model alternative. Tonight it is time to find a solution to the dispute over the funding model situation at EFR. We appreciated hearing your positive comments 2 weeks ago that expressed an interest in working with Eastside Fire and Rescue partners. But tonight, words are not enough. The Sammamish City Manager is expected to make his official recommendation tomorrow night for the city to leave EFR and start a new standalone department. The Sammamish Council will then be making their final decision on November 12th. The community and firefighters have been sounding alarms about Sammamish's plan because we are concerned about public safety, and as the Sammamish City Council has heard loud and clear, citizens expect their elected officials to work together. We have also asked Sammamish to adopt a motion at their meeting tomorrow, and while we're hopeful they will, we're looking to you to take the critical and bold first step tonight. This is an opportunity for you to be seen as regional leaders and signal to Sammamish, the partnership, firefighters, and the public that you are serious about keeping EFR together. It's in everyone's best interest, most importantly your constituents, that there be meaningful negotiation and compromise to save and improve the EFR partnership, but it has to start here. Thank you for the time you spent meeting with us to discuss the situation. It really has been a pleasure. I respectfully request that tonight you put public safety over politics by taking action and adopting a motion to accept our offer of mediation with Sammamish, or move forward with a funding model proposal that will solve this problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Augustine.
Mayor, council members, my name is Dave Augenstein, 723 212th Avenue Southeast. I'm a resident of Sammamish, and I'm also one of your firefighters right across the street. Ladies and gentlemen, it's crunch time. It's the fourth quarter, and the two-minute warning has just gone off. The ball is in your court, and we ask that you not let your constituents, but more importantly, the constituents of the region down, and act in good faith towards the city of Sammamish with an olive branch, is what I call it. We thank you for the time and effort that you all are putting into this and serious consideration of helping us. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak during audience comments? Second call and third call. Anyone else who wishes to speak during audience comments? Seeing and hearing no one else, audience comments are closed. And with that, we will move to committee and regional reports. And I will call upon Councilmember Faulkner.
Thank you. The Council Infrastructure Committee meeting was scheduled for November 14th. We have some scheduling conflicts, and we're trying to find another evening that will work for that, and we will get that resolved before the next couple days. Can be put it on the website with the agenda. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Land and Shore next meets on November 12th at 5 p.m. here in Council Chambers. And on the agenda is one item for potential action, and that is the Swedish Development Agreement. It will likely be our last look, and the committee will bring forward a recommendation. I do believe there was one item of discussion that was added to our agenda today, and that is a discussion about the Central Issaquah Plan. And in light of the Gilman Square, I'm not sure it's a proposal yet, but in light of that, which is all multifamily, there will be a discussion with staff about the options for possibly requiring mixed use. It's just a discussion at this point, and so that will be at Land and Shore as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Martz.
No report.
Councilmember Scheer.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to members of the viewing public. The Eastside Transportation Partnership is going to meet this Friday. We have a very full agenda scheduled, including an update on potential snow removal. It's that time of year. We're also going to have a presentation from King County Metro on a proposal for service reductions, which I'm sure will be of significant interest to the partnership members, and I will report back on that particular item and others at the next council meeting opportunity. We're also going to have a report from the I-405 Executive Advisory Group and form a nominating committee for our leadership positions for next year. So as I said, a very full agenda ahead this Friday, and I look forward to reporting back to you in a couple weeks on the outcomes of these presentations. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Services and Safety Committee will be meeting this Thursday, the 7th at 5 p.m. in the Eagle Room. There are two agenda bills before us that evening, 6736, which is a public art purchase titled Wings on Wings. And the second piece we'll be discussing that evening is 6740, and this is coming forward from the Issaquah Police Department, which would be reviewing a communications specialist position. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Winterstein.
No report.
Councilmember Butler.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There will be a council committee work session this Thursday, November 7th, beginning at 6 o'clock here in council chambers to continue our proposed budget 2014 deliberations. I'd like to comment briefly on the offer by the Eastside firefighters to support and sponsor mediation. There have been a flurry of meetings over the past few days, and those meetings have worked to discuss the funding model that is under consideration. I'm encouraged at what has happened. There appears to be significant progress being made, and I would just like to emphasize to those in the audience and those watching that Issaquah is strongly committed to Eastside Fire and Rescue and does not want to see Sammamish drop out of that regional fire service. I believe that we can reach an agreement in a timely manner, and I would hope that Sammamish would delay any decision until November. We have a council work session scheduled for November the 12th here in council chambers beginning at 6 o'clock to talk about a resolution expressing our commitment to Eastside Fire and Rescue and to talk about where we are in that process. Again, I'd like to thank the Eastside firefighters at their offer, and as a last resort, if we cannot reach an agreement on a funding model, then I believe that we should enter into mediation and take them up on that offer. In addition to Eastside Fire and Rescue at our November the 12th council work session, we will also be getting an update on the Klahani potential annexation area, and we will continue our discussion on the cost recovery and development services related to Agenda Bill 6668. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Mayor's report, there will not be an executive session this evening. Second item, a very important one, a right that all of us who are registered voters have and a responsibility. It is our last opportunity to vote in this year's general election. Ballots are due tomorrow, Tuesday, November 5th by 8 p.m. You can drop your ballots off in the ballot drop box located in front of City Hall. There are a number of important items that are on the ballot. They're all important. One is a park bond measure, and to learn more about those topics, you can go to issaquahwa.gov and look for information. Join us this coming Saturday, November 9th at 7 p.m. in the Eagle Room at City Hall for the last installment of our second Saturday film series event of the year. We will be playing Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm, an 80-minute black and white movie. That should be a cheerful and something upbeat. So to view times and dates of, looking at the next one. We invite you to tour Pickering Barn and Tibbetts Creek Manor as you plan upcoming events. We are having a number of open houses during the month of November at each of those locations for anyone interested to view the facilities, measure, and plan for decorating ideas, and have our staff answer rental questions you may have. To view the time and dates, visit our website at issaquahwa.gov/Pickering Barn. Please take note that we are now in flood season. The City of Issaquah posts flood phase information on its radio station, that is AM station 1700, on our TV station, channel 21, our emergency information line and website. For information and to view our updated flood brochure for floodplain residents, please visit our website at issaquahwa.gov/flood. Finally, there is a walk-on item for tonight's consent calendar. That is Agenda Bill 6742, Community Fiber Network Franchise. It is submitted for referral to the November 14th, 2013 Council Infrastructure Committee for review and recommendation, returning to the full council on December 2nd of this year. And that is attached to the mayor's report, so there is that information. And before we move on to looking at the consent calendar, I want to emphasize again what the council president reported about East Side Fire and Rescue and coming to a resolution on funding models. Our council, at its last meeting, adopted a strategy or at least a review process and a resolution for consideration. That, as I understand it, will be one of the topics discussed at the November 12th meeting. And it is anticipated that there will be some sort of action as a result of that. Okay? Just kind of want to make sure that we all know what the process is, when things are happening, and again, be reassured that this is not something that the council is taking in any way lightly or casually. All right. Next item, I will ask if the accounts have been reviewed.
They have.
Okay. And then I will ask the council's pleasure on the consent calendar with the addition of that Agenda Bill 6742.
I move that we approve the consent calendar as presented and amended.
Second.
Moved by Winterstein, seconded by Butler. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that passed unanimously. So now we are on to the next item on the agenda, which is Agenda Bill 6701, having to do with property tax revenue and revenue sources. And this is coming forward with an opportunity for some explanation, and then the public hearing, followed by discussion, and then council direction to the administration. It is not adopting budget revenue sources this evening. It's the preparation of an ordinance to do that. So with that, I will ask for a staff presentation, and then questions from the council, and then a public hearing.
Good evening. I'm Diane Marcotte, your finance director. Each year when we go through the budget process, part of that budget process is to allow the public an opportunity to talk about our upcoming revenues as well as any changes in our property taxes. We have done the requisite public notice. We were required to notice this public hearing twice in the newspapers, and we went through that process. And tonight we are holding the official public meeting whereby we talk about our revenue sources and the changes in the property tax. So for 2014, we continue to have a conservative revenue forecast given some of the continuing economic volatility. Earlier in August of this year, things were beginning to look rather good. As we got into October, things occurring at the federal level were beginning to have impacts down here at the local level, and we're seeing some of that impact. Originally, our forecast going forward was pretty optimistic. Now, a lot of the economists are beginning to present information that says that the overall growth in GDP over the next year is much slower than what they had originally anticipated. Moving into 2014 for the general fund revenues, we are budgeting for a little over $35.7 million in proposed revenue. Included in that revenue, we'll be talking here shortly about the changes in property taxes. The mayor's proposed budget includes a 1% increase in the property taxes. Exclusive of that, there are no recommended changes in the property tax, any recommended increases or changes in revenues or taxes for the general fund. Coming into 2014, We are anticipating that revenue will be approximately $945,000 higher, primarily due to some increases in taxes, whether it's sales tax, because we've had some opening of some new businesses up in the Issaquah Highlands area in particular, and we know that that will be bringing in additional revenue. And we are also seeing some increases in our permit-related activity. Some of the timing of our permit revenue activity is a little unsure. We never know quite when someone's bringing a project in. It could be as early as we would see a large increase in revenue, potentially this year, but probably more likely next year. If the revenue came in this year, it would really be related to activity that the staff would be doing in 2014. The overall sources of revenues in the general fund, as you can see, the majority of the revenue is composed of taxes. We'll be talking about taxes a little bit here in the next slide. And then we have a fairly small dispersion among the remaining revenue sources in the general fund. So we get 7% from licenses and permits. That includes our business licenses from our business community. We get some shared revenue from the state of Washington. A lot of it is shared revenue related to the police department. The state shares based on a per capita basis revenue. Other charges and services includes charges for our jail and other services that the city provides, including like our passports. Then we have a larger category for recreation fees. We run a very strong parks and recreation program, so we display those separately given the significance of the revenue source. Our jail services and fees, I apologize, I thought they were in other charges for services. And then we have some miscellaneous revenue. Included in miscellaneous revenue is our interest income. So talking about our general fund taxes, you can see that of the 66% total tax revenue that the general fund receives, 37% of it comes from sales tax. That there is a lot of volatility in that revenue stream depending on how the economy is doing and what consumer spending habits are. So we watch those numbers very closely, and we work with the council as the year is going by to let them know of changes. 19% comes from utility tax. This is the tax that our gas, electric, telephone, and cable TV, we collect a utility tax from them. Our property tax represents 31%, and then we have a business and occupation tax, which represents 12%, and then we have miscellaneous of 1%. So that's our overall dispersion of the general fund tax revenue. You can see in 2014, we're seeing a significant increase in our general fund sales tax. We are beginning to recover from our past experience. We had a very, very low number in 2009 as we entered into our recession. You can see that in 2011 we saw a little bit of a bump, and that just sort of, this graph shows you the volatility in sales tax. It's pretty hard to have our little crystal ball and predict some of these large variances because, as I stated earlier, it's really based upon consumer spending and their habits. In the general fund, the mayor's proposed budget is recommending a 1% increase in overall property taxes. That amounts to $70,770. Overall, our property taxes, what that is it's a 1% increase on the revenue that we collected last year. A lot of people think it's a 1% increase in the assessed valuation, and as assessed valuation is going up, people sort of think that's going to be a very large number. But it's basically saying what you collected last year, you can increase it by 1%. So to put it in terms of how it would impact the average citizen, we know that in the median price of a house this year is running around $440,000. That 1% represents an annual increase of $3.83. Overall, what we wanted to show the council is that the majority, out of every dollar that is collected, 63% of it goes to the benefit of the school district. And as you can see, we have a number of different taxing districts that are part of the overall tax bill. In 2013, the overall levy rate was $11.6699 per 1,000 assessed dollars of assessed valuation. So in order to figure out how that impacts you, you would take a home of $440,000 divided by 1,000, and you come up with a metric of 440. So to figure out what your tax bill would be, is you would take that 440 times the 11.66, and that would get you your property tax bill. And as you can see, Issaquah represents $1.48. We're sort of right in the middle of the collection of overall property taxes in relationship to the other taxing districts. Overall, the assessed valuation, to give you an idea of how it, the assessed valuation is, 42% of it is residential, 21% is condominium, and 37% is commercial. Now, one of the things about commercial is it isn't always on assessed valuation. If you have, for instance, office buildings or those types of things, it isn't based upon the assessed valuation, but it's based upon the overall rents and the income of that building. So one of the things that we try to do is, particularly when you go into a recession, a lot of times the property owners take those properties and get a reduction in their property tax. So as those buildings become occupied again, it's important for us to share with the King County Assessor's Office those offices and buildings as they become vacant, to make sure that we're collecting an overall reasonable allocation of the revenue sources. The composition of the levy rate. So one of the things that we were looking at is for 2013, and we have to use that estimate because we really don't know what the 2014 levy rate is until the King County Council adopts the overall levy rate for the city of Issaquah. We will get that information sometime in February of next year, what the overall levy rate is. But using this year's information, one of the things that we were looking at is for that $440,000 home, the overall property tax bill would be about $4,900. Of that $4,900, 55% is a levy that each of the different jurisdictions has levied against the property value. But what's really interesting to note is 45% of it are property taxes that the voters themselves have chosen to levy against their property. So that was a very interesting balance between that 55 and 45. You know, we're almost an even split between what we as a municipal corporation levy against property taxes versus those which are voter approved by the voters. So this just kind of gives you a little bit different perspective on how that property tax is broken out. You can see in the property tax levy rate, what we have done is an estimate. It's kind of a correlation is that the more your assessed valuation goes up, it actually drives down your levy rate. So really it's a mathematical calculation. So you can see in 2012, we saw a reduction in property, the assessed valuation, it decreased by 2.1%. In 2013, it decreased another 1.2%. And actually earlier in 09 and 10, we saw even more dramatic reductions. And then in 2014, as the economy is starting to pick up, you see that the value of homes and commercial property is starting to increase. You know, one of the phenomenons that we had heard earlier this year and as late as last year was bidding more for residential homes. We hadn't seen that in a very long time. We saw it more in 2006, 2007 was when we were seeing those types of activity. So we're anticipating that the overall levy rate would go down, including the addition of the 1% increase in the collections of the revenues. So a little bit about our enterprise fund, because they're another one where we have a rate setting. Overall, there is no proposed rate increase for our 3 utilities, including King County Metro. This would be the first time in many, many years that King County Metro has not done a pass-through and an increase to the overall rates. As you can see from the enterprise fund, 95% of our revenue comes from charges for services. So that is for us providing our water services to the community as well as the sewer services and the storm. You can see that the proposed revenue below is a little bit over $6 million for water, $7.6 million for sewer, and storm 4.47. So the difference between our 2012 revenue and 2013 revenue is really related to growth and in some cases, particularly in water and sewer, additional consumption of water. So there is no proposed rate increases for those three utilities. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions that the council has at this point before the public hearing? Any questions? No? Okay. I will read the information about public hearings. The information essentially is the same that was presented for audience comments. These are the guidelines for participation. When you are recognized, we ask that you use the lectern and the microphone over here so that you can be seen and heard by people in council chambers and those who are watching the proceedings of this meeting on Channel 21. We ask that you state your name and your address, and if you wish to emphasize a relationship to the city, resident, property owner, business owner, whatever that you feel would be important for the council to know, please feel free to do so at that time. We further ask that your comments be limited to 5 minutes or fewer, and if you have written comments, you may submit them to the city clerk. And the topic this evening of the public hearing is Agenda Bill 6701, property tax revenue, setting the property tax revenue to be collected for 2014, for the 2014 budget. And with that, the public hearing is opened at 7:33 p.m. And I will ask if anyone has signed up to speak. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak during the public hearing who has not had an opportunity to speak? Anyone who wishes to speak? One final call. Is there anyone who wishes to speak during the public hearing on this topic, property tax revenues? Hearing and seeing no one who wishes to speak during the public hearing, the meeting, or the hearing, is closed at 7:34 p.m. And with that, the topic is before the council for discussion, questions, and action in the form of direction to the administration. So, any questions or discussion from the council? Any action by the council? Councilmember Scher.
Is there a motion required at this time, or?
That would be the way in which to direct the administration to do something, yes.
Get to the right.
Councilmember Faulkner.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
would move to direct the administration to prepare an ordinance setting the amount of taxes to be collected in 2014, amount to include a 1% base increase for adoption at the November 18th, 2013 council meeting.
Second.
Okay, moved by Faulkner and seconded by Winterstein. Discussion. Yes, Councilmember Faulkner.
In my experience in working for cities and working with city budgets and things, one of the things that I have found is that if you don't make small incremental increases once in a while, you end up coming up with very large increases because of an emergency. 1% increase like this that amounts to $3.83 for an average home to me seems like something that it seems like a small thing, and it's nothing that a council likes to do about raising taxes but it's one of those things that if you can give a little bit of increase each year, it allows you the ability to maybe forestall a large increase somewhere down the road that you may not have the ability to say no to. This increase to me seems relatively small, and I think that it would be a lot easier to have the citizens have a little increase at a time like this than, wait till a year or two down the road where something big hits us and we have to increase it considerably more than that.
Other comments? Councilmember Scheer.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I went back to my notes from as far back as 2008, and I can't recall if at any point since I've been on the council we've actually implemented the property tax increase, certainly up to 1% or any amount less. It might have happened once in the last 6 years, but I don't recall it. Interestingly, back in 2008, that 1% was said to have generated about $62,000. So not a lot has really changed in 6 years if we're only talking about 70,000 and change now. And as Joe pointed out, it's not a lot of money. And I appreciated our finance director's comments at our last budget meeting clarifying that it's not a 1% increase on your total tax bill, which is about $11.67 per thousand assessed value, but rather on the city portion, and even less than the entire city portion. I think it came to about $1.23 or something like that per 1,000. So it's not a lot. At the same time, I'm also concerned about the cost of living going up for homeowners. And, we have natural gas increase from PSC. We have folks' homeowners dues, such as my own, that regularly go up, it seems, every year. We have increases every so often, not this year, in water and sewer rates. There's no pass-through change, as was mentioned in the presentation, but it seems like things always go up. We have a bond measure that's up on the ballot tomorrow night, which, if that passes, will increase taxes as well, fairly significantly, in my opinion. So it's of concern to me that things always go up and up and up, and these nickels and dimes and these $3, they add up on a homeowner. And when you add all these things together, $3 here and $3 there, and before you know it, it's $20 or $30 a month that somebody doesn't have for groceries or for discretionary spending. And we want to make sure that we're not pushing too far to further depress the economy and set things back. I'm supportive at this point of having the administration prepare the ordinance for the 1% increase. Nobody spoke tonight at the public hearing, so I don't really know what our constituents think. I'd be interested to hear from people between now and the adoption of the property tax amount, if anyone has strong opinions on the subject. But absent that, it does seem like a fair and reasonable thing to do, given how many years we've not done it. With the understanding, in my opinion, that this is a year-by-year, case-by-case type of situation, that we can't just say, hey, we get up to 1% or more if you have capacity. Let's just do it because we can. And I think our city's done a very good job over the past 6 years of taking a measured approach and really thinking about this on a year-by-year basis. So this year, it looks reasonable, but I'm interested to hear from people, and it doesn't mean next year I'll think it's reasonable then. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments or questions? Yes, sir. Councilmember Martz.
I think this body has shown great restraint in the past on this. I haven't been on the council as long as Councilmember Scheer, but we certainly haven't, in the last 3 years, exercised the 1%. Even though the way that the law works, there are many who would argue that we should have done it preemptively. We didn't, because we didn't have to. But I see this year that we do have to this year. And so, although I know that no taxpayer is ever excited about having their taxes go up, I think that if the taxpayers of Issaquah look at the recent history of this council, I think if they look at the budget conversations that we're having ongoing, that are available off the city's website, I think that they will see that this would be a prudent year to do the 1%. I do agree with Councilmember Scheer. It doesn't necessarily set a precedent for future years, but I will certainly support it this year.
Other comments or discussion? Is the council ready to act upon this motion, or do you wish further discussion? I'm sensing that the council is ready to act on this, so all those in favor of directing the administration to prepare an ordinance setting the amount of taxes to be collected in 2014, the amount to include a 1% base increase for adoption at the next meeting, the November 18th council meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passed unanimously. The next item before the council this evening is entitled Good of the Order, and this is an opportunity to speak to regional meetings or other things of interest or concern to the council that weren't discussed earlier in the council committee and regional reports. Are there any items that council wishes to speak to under Good of the Order? Anything under Good of the Order? Third call. Anything under Good of the Order? There is no executive session, and the council meeting is adjourned at 7:42 p.m. There is council leadership.